Let's bring in Texas State Representative and Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate, James Tallarico. It's very good to have you on the show. Obviously, there are so many questions about these two latest ICE shootings and the overall deadly and dangerous deportation tactics on the part of this administration. At the same time, I'm curious, do you believe there should be a robust immigration policy and border security?
Absolutely. You know, we're on our Frontera tour going from El Paso, Texas to the Rio Grande Valley, 750 miles along our Texas-Mexico border. We're talking about common sense border security. We had Republican and Democratic border sheriffs joining together to support our bipartisan common sense border security plan. And I've also been talking about these ICE killings. In El Paso, I talked about Lorenzo Salgado, who raised three boys who all went to college. You saw two of them there, a public school teacher and an engineer. He embodied the American dream, and he was murdered after living in our state for 35 years. 2 days after I talked about Lorenzo Salgado, we saw another killing in Maine, and a 3-year-old girl watched her father killed before her eyes. And so we need a independent investigation of these killings. We have to protect our immigrant neighbors while also securing our southern border with common sense policies like more Border Patrol agents, more surveillance technology, and more immigration judges, not this crazy border wall through the Big Bend National Park here in Texas. So that's what we're talking about. And I think it's resonating with people across the state and across the political spectrum.
So you would agree that Democrats made a big mistake in 2021, 22, 23, not focusing enough on border security, right?
Absolutely. And I've called out President Biden and his administration for failing to secure our southern border. I remember talking to my colleagues in the state house who represent border communities, and they were telling me about the utter chaos along our southern border. And that's unacceptable. We need to be about making government work for people. And this was a prime example of government not working for any of us.
Do you think Democrats, other than you, do you think there are enough Democrats that understand what a horrible mistake that was? When you look at the 2024 election results and you see all of those counties along the border, all going red, or almost all of them going red, do you think Democrats nationwide understand what you understand, that open borders is no solution? In fact, it is a disaster, not only politically, but disaster for the communities, Hispanic communities along that border.
That's exactly right. You know, my family is from South Texas. My mom grew up in Laredo on our southern border. So border communities in Texas mean a lot to me personally. They mean a lot to my family. And national Democrats took the border for granted. We stopped showing up there, and that's why people along the southern border, it's why people in South Texas started looking for alternatives. Republicans came to town and made big promises about, common sense immigration approach, lowering people's costs. But just a year into this administration, those promises haven't been kept. And we've seen more extremism on immigration with these ICE raids. We've seen this crazy, useless border wall through Big Bend being proposed, when you already have a wall made by God with cliffs and mountain ranges, much better than anything humans could build. And then you've also seen costs skyrocketing for people along the border. You've seen these tariffs start to hurt small businesses in the region. So folks are feeling really disillusioned. They feel like they've been let down by both political parties. And it's why we're showing up. It's why we're listening and holding town halls to rebuild some of that trust that's been lost. And I think we've seen folks along the border, folks in South Texas, joining this movement we're building. They're ready to finally have a senator who's going to fight for them in Washington.
You know, you look at the numbers, not only in Texas and Florida and other states, and any gains Republicans made that Donald Trump made with Hispanic voters have been completely wiped away because of the immigration policy. In fact, Donald Trump's strongest policy has always been immigration. He's now even upside down on that issue. I'm curious, and I just put all of that out there because I'm not asking you this as a softball question. I'm asking you this as somebody on the ground, knocking on doors every day, talking to people every day, and sort of want you to be a reporter to Americans that are listening to you right now and explain the fear, explain the heartache, explain the pain that is going through the Hispanic community, not only in Houston, but across all of Texas and all of America.
Yeah, I've been traveling to every corner of Texas, from El Paso to Beaumont, from Amarillo to Brownsville. We've been holding all these events, and I've got so many young people showing up at our town halls, at our rallies. Many of them say it's the first political event they've ever attended. Many of them are Hispanic, and so many tell me that they're worried their parents aren't going to come home at the end of the day. And these are hardworking neighbors who have been in our communities for years, for decades. And the president promised to go after the criminals, and that's something I support. We should be deporting murderers and rapists and gang members, but that's not what's happening. ICE should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. ICE should be deporting these violent criminals, not small business owners. They should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies. And I think that's what most Texans want out of immigration and customs enforcement. They want to go after the threats to public safety, not to the hardworking members of our community who have been contributing to our economy, contributing to our state, who've been making us richer and stronger as immigrants have done throughout American history.
Representative Tallarico, thanks for being with us this morning. Let's talk specifically about your race. Democrats are excited about your candidacy here, but they also have that skepticism born of more than 30 years now of Democrats losing statewide. In the state of Texas, people have been saying for years now, Texas is on the brink of turning blue, and it always seems to come up just short. A couple of years ago, Colin Allred, a good candidate, lost by just over 8 points to Senator Ted Cruz, though he did outperform Kamala Harris in the state of Texas. So the question to you this morning for Democrats who may be watching, who are excited about you, why do you feel this time is different in Texas? Why are you going to reverse the trend of the last 30 years of Texas always statewide going Republican? Is part of that, as John Cornyn would tell you, that you are facing a uniquely corrupt candidate in Ken Paxton?
The first words out of my mouth when I launched this campaign back in September of last year were that the real fight in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. So, my party talks about turning Texas blue. The Republican Party talks about keeping Texas red. I honestly think the best color for Texas is purple. I think she would look great in purple, because what needs to happen is we have to end this one-party rule. We need competition in our elections in Texas, because when we have competitive elections, all politicians, particularly those who have been bought by billionaire mega donors, they have to stay on their toes. They have to try to serve all of us. And whether it's in red states or blue states, one-party rule always leads to extremism and corruption, because there's no competition. Competition is good in business, it's good in sports, and it's good in politics. And that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to take on the mega donors who increasingly control our politics, control our economy, and their puppet politicians who do their bidding in the halls of power. And that's not really a partisan thing. Whether you're a little more conservative or a little more progressive, we're all getting screwed. None of us can afford the basics: groceries, gas, utilities, childcare, prescription drugs, the things that we need to survive. And so that's why we're bringing working people together across these partisan divides, racial divides, cultural divides, so that we can take on the people at the top who have been screwing us over for decades.
Watching this race pretty closely, it's been notable that the criticism of you from many Republicans, from the president all the way down to the grassroots level there in Texas, about you has been personal. It has been cultural. It's been kind of, he's not one of us. He doesn't have that Texas swagger. They talk about the fact that you're a vegan, which you have said you are not. Things like that, like he's not Texas, which you were born and raised, correct me, in Round Rock, Texas. You went to UT. Ken Paxton's from North Dakota and came to college in Texas. Nothing wrong with that, but just stating the facts. How do you answer that kind of criticism from those corners that say, I don't know, he doesn't walk and talk like a Texan. He might not be one of us?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm the 8th generation Texan in the race. As you mentioned, Ken Paxton was born in North Dakota. He was raised in California. And I think California transplants like Ken Paxton can become Texans. That's what's great about our state. You know, Texas is a state of mind, as John Steinbeck wrote. And so I think what folks are hungry for is a senator who's going to serve all Texans, regardless of our political party, regardless of where we grew up, whether we've been here for 8 generations or whether we just got here, like Ken Paxton. And I think that's what we've got to focus on over the course of this campaign. People want a senator who's going to bring both parties together to lower our costs. And that's what I have a track record of doing. I've served for 4 terms in the Texas legislature. I have passed 60 bipartisan bills with my Republican colleagues in the State House, bills that cut property taxes, that raise teacher pay, that lower the cost of housing and childcare and prescription drugs, including insulin. And so I have a track record of bringing down costs for working Texans. I think that's what folks are looking for, not these divisive culture wars that have been pitting neighbor against neighbor for years now.
It's interesting. Ken Paxton says you're not Texan enough. He was born in North Dakota. He grew up in California.
It's not Texas.
Celebrates 4th of July in London.
Or Iceland.
Or Iceland, wherever he was.
I don't know where he went.
I'm curious, what French city did you spend? Were you in
Yes.
He's in London or Iceland or wherever? Were you in Paris? How did you spend, maybe Luxembourg? Where did you spend your 4th of July?
So I actually spent 4th of July with an American treasure, Willie Nelson, in Austin at his annual 4th of July picnic, which was a real honor as a longtime fan of Willie Nelson.